The trap that turned a city to rubble. What if the moment you stepped into a city, you realized the ground beneath you wasn't just unstable, it was waiting to swallow everything whole? Setting the scene. Today, we're stepping into one of those moments in history when a city looked peaceful on the outside, yet underneath, it hid a trap so perfectly designed that even the most confident armies walked straight into disaster. As we move through this story, we'll see how a calm city square turned into a battlefield, how walls that once protected families ended up collapsing in seconds, and how a single strategic trick reshaped an entire region. We'll explore it together with simple words, steady flow, and a pace that pulls you right into the center of the chaos. The first look that deceived everyone. When soldiers first approached this city, everything seemed almost too quiet. Streets were empty, windows shut, and the air felt unusually still. Imagine walking into a place that looks abandoned, yet somehow feels like it's watching every step you take. That's exactly how this moment played out. We often assume danger comes with noise, but here, silence was the first warning sign. Still, nobody recognized it. The city gave off the picture of surrender, and that was the exact image its defenders wanted the enemy to see. What the army didn't know was that the ground they now stood on had been turned into a massive hidden weapon. The art of a perfect trap. The people defending the city knew they couldn't outnumber their enemy, so they decided to outsmart them. Instead of fighting on the open field, they turned their own home into a maze of traps. Beneath the streets, they carved tunnels, placed charges, and weakened entire building foundations so they could collapse at the pull of a single rope. Everything was planned with such precision that the city almost transformed into one giant trigger. What made this trap even more brilliant was how normal everything looked. The attackers believed they were walking into a victory parade. They didn't realize they were stepping into a carefully built disaster zone. When the city sprang shut, the moment the enemy forces reached the central square, the defenders acted. A signal went up. Some say it was a small flame, others say it was a horn, but whatever it was, it started a chain reaction. The ground trembled first. Then buildings started to lean, and within seconds, the city that looked so peaceful exploded into chaos. Narrow streets turned into dead ends as walls collapsed. Bridges crumbled, cutting off escape routes. Fires burst out from hidden fuel barrels, forcing the attackers deeper into the maze instead of out of it. In just minutes, the city flipped from a quiet shell to a violent storm. And as the enemy panicked, the defenders took advantage of every moment. They didn't need a huge army. The city itself became their strongest weapon.
The panic that followed. Imagine being a soldier trapped in a place you thought you had already won. Every direction looked familiar at first, but suddenly every road was blocked by debris. Smoke covered the sky, making the day feel like night. Sounds echoed through narrow alleys, and nobody could tell where danger was coming from next. That confusion was exactly what the defenders planned. With every path cut off, the invading army split into small groups, making them even more vulnerable. And as they struggled to escape, the city showed its final blow. Widespread collapses that left entire units buried under rubble. Some reports say more than half of the enemy force never made it out. Others claim the real number was even higher. The aftermath and the unexpected result. When the dust finally settled, the city didn't look like a victory for either side. Streets were broken, rooftops gone, and homes destroyed. Yet something surprising happened. The defenders, although outnumbered, won the battle by using intelligence instead of strength. This event didn't just save the city, it changed the rules of warfare. Leaders around the world realized that the strongest weapon wasn't always a bigger army. Sometimes the best advantage came from understanding the land, the structure, and the psychology of the opponent. The trap became a message. Never underestimate a place that looks quiet, and never assume victory just because the gates seem open.
The city that fought back. So when we look back at this story, we see a city that refused to fall the easy way. Its people didn't rely on luck or miracles. They used creativity, patience, and timing to pull off something that seemed impossible. This wasn't just a battle, it was a lesson, a reminder that even when the odds feel overwhelming, smart planning can turn weakness into strength, and sometimes the quietest places hide the loudest surprises. If you want more stories like this, full of strategy, mystery, and turning points that shaped history, stay with us because there's so much more to uncover.